Hi, my name's Alyssa. I'm with Stories and Spoilers, the podcast, and I am so happy and excited to share that this episode is going to be a top five books of the year with one of my bookish friends. We're also going to discuss some books that we've recently purchased or kind of collected the past few months and why we're so excited to read them. All right, so Lauren, you may introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren. Lauren Loves Stories. And my gosh, I'm just so excited to be here. I love Alyssa's podcast.
Thank you.
So oh my gosh, I'm just excited to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. If you ever see this person's amazing Instagram, I will link them in the bio below, in the Spotify and in YouTube, and I will be tagging them on everything on Instagram. But you are iconic for your Instagram stories, your reels. I just love how you break down these amazing books. You also have a way of describing like romances you've read, fantasies, and on your Instagram stories, you give us a play-by-play of like where you are in the book. And that's just so exciting to me because you actually inspired me to buy a few of my books.
Oh,
And I've been like preparing and like stocking up for 2025 because I'm not mentally or emotionally prepared. Neither are you listeners for all the books that Lauren has prepared. I cannot wait to see what your top five of the year are.
oh,
So yeah, how many books have you read this year? Be aware
okay.
your reading goal is not a like the number doesn't matter to everyone, but I like to know how many books people read because I think it's so interesting.
So I originally set my reading goal for 52. I surpassed that. And then I went to 75, right? Yes, 75. And
Ooh.
so far I have actually read 94 books.
That's awesome. That's a really good reading goal. I'm sitting here like, all right, applause, applause. Like that's amazing. I see your little bookshelf behind you. For readers who are just listening, Lauren has this beautiful white bookshelf, which they also put on their stories. That's how I actually originally met Lauren. I saw you did like a reel or a story on Instagram about your bookshelf and buying it, building it, and now it's just full of books. I see the teacher over there, and I'm like,
Mhm.
for those who know, the teacher, that's Frida, that author, her twists will blow your mind. You think I know where it's coming from. I've seen NCIS, I've seen all the true crime shows. No, no.
Oh, no, no, no.
Frida McFallon has a way of really giving that twist, and The Teacher is one of her most iconic books, as well as like I think The Ward or like something like The Ward was another really popular one. But
That one yet.
I haven't read the one either, but I see that cover everywhere. I've heard people say like, "Oh my gosh, it's a great book." But heads up to all listeners on this episode, we will be discussing not only Lauren's top five, but also books that we have kind of gotten and purchased recently. So there may be some spoilers as we discuss some books that we both have in common and that we love certain scenes from. So heads up about that. But get a cozy drink and sit and enjoy this episode. Okay, so Lauren, tell me about some of your favorite recent bookish purchases and books that you've recently gotten that you're excited to read.
Okay. I recently got only for the, yes, only for the week. Can you hand
Mm.
it? I just got only for the week.
Oh,
'Cause
cute.
I saw that the audiobook was available and I was just like, let me get into it. And they finally dropped the new like cover of the book. And this is it.
Ooh,
It's
it's gorgeous.
a gorgeous one. So very
Wow.
excited to get into this one. Hopefully I'll start it maybe over the weekend, if not early
Okay.
during the week.
That's a really cute book. I'm like, all right, all right. And what is kind of a few elements of Only for the Week? From what I remember, from like a few of the book tropes that I do recall being thrown around, there's a vacation, there is a wedding, there is a little bit of drama, there's someone being spoiled, and
Oh,
there's a boat, to my understanding. If I remember correctly, apparently there's a boat that ties into this romance to some extent. It's a little sexy, and it's a Black romance.
the black romance.
Ooh, what is
Period.
the plot giving? You can also read the backs of these books. Like people like to know a little bit about what's going on.
Okay, so the back of this book says you're cordially invited to the wedding of Emery Cross and Arnold Hightower. A destination wedding in Tulum should be a breeze, but for Dr. Janelle Cross, the sister of the bride and ex-girlfriend of the groom, can't catch a break. Between her maid of honor duties, her sister's bridezilla antics, and her family's tiptoeing around her non-existent feelings for her ex, Janelle is desperate to let off some steam. So when the best man Rome proposed that they get into their undeniable chemistry, Janelle agrees under one condition: their affair can only last a week. What happens
Ooh.
in Tulum doesn't always stay in Tulum.
Oh, that sounds really good.
I'm so excited. It's giving
Okay.
spoiled. It's giving like a true hot steamy romance, and I'm very
Ooh.
excited.
I'm so, oh my gosh, that sounds really good. I feel like on social media, a lot of times we see books referenced or authors post about them, other book reviewers post about them, and we're like, oh, I really want to read that. You add it to your endless TBR, and then you look back 6 months later and you're like, what happened? I wanted to read it, you know? But that is one of those books that I added to my TBR, and I'm like, I really want to read that. And that cover is so pretty. Who doesn't want a good, romantic tropical getaway? Also only a week for an affair. Only a
Hmm,
week for a relationship.
I'll do it in a week.
Like you can do a lot. You can do a
I
lot in a week when you're not,
I have
listen,
a fly on the wall.
li we can do a lot. We can do a lot in a week. So yes, okay, all right. I know you mentioned you just went to Barnes& and Noble, the Holy Land. What is another book that you possibly got there that you're excited to read?
Okay, so another book that I got was actually called Brooklyn by
Ooh,
Tracey Brown, and I have heard great things about this. I'm just gonna read like the little blurb
yeah,
up top. It says
100%.
in her final and arguably best and last book, Tracey Brown crafts a tale about a master manipulator and serial survivor who will scorch the earth to get what she wants. And when she's found murdered, the question isn't who killed her, who wouldn't kill her. That's the question.
Ooh.
I'm like, oh, this is gonna be messy.
Ooh, okay. I do like reading books as well, and I wonder, do you as well, where the main character is actually maybe not super likable sometimes?
Right.
It's a little complex. Like I do enjoy that. I also like reading books about female main characters that are people pleasers because that's something I really struggle with.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you feel seen. I'll
I'm
put it
like,
out there. You feel seen.
hello. I just want to know like how her villain era started. And how did we get to the point of you being murdered? Like what's
Yeah. What's the POV? So if she's dead, is the POV from somebody else? Or is the POV from her like in past tense? Like, I wish I'd realized that Jimmy was the murderer. Like, I'm always curious how that is. Like, oh, like,
yes.
you know, I'm dead now. And I'm like, so then how are you telling the story? Like, is it past tense or are you watching as a ghost? Which I've actually read books with both point of views. So
I don't want to give nothing
you've
away.
already read it.
And oh no, no, no.
Oh.
Anyway, and one of the books that we talked about, A Song of Achilles.
Ooh.
You
You know
foreshadow
what?
something.
I'm ready. So you posted on your Instagram story about Song of Achilles, and you were saying how it like really got you. And I've seen it's hard to avoid because it's such a well-known book. I've seen people make like fan art for this book. And the fan art was gorgeous. I love a good like tragedy. I do love when Black people like when we can enjoy mythology, we can enjoy romance, we can enjoy tragedy, and we can enjoy all the things. We read all sorts of things, and I love the rise of that on Instagram and seeing more Black book reviewers and just we like slay in all genres. We read hella fast. We're amazing. We're brilliant. I want to add more space for that on the podcast. But this book specifically, every person I've ever seen who's read this book has been in tears, like has been sobbing. Usually I run from that because I'm a big crybaby, but this book, the writing I heard was really good. And you also heavily inspired me to read it. So I cannot wait to one night just settle down with a little tissues and some tea and let it beat me up. And let it beat me up. So I cannot wait to read this book.
That is just a well-written book and
Ooh.
overall such a great retelling of Achilles' story growing up,
Hmm.
but not told in his perspective.
Oh, it's his friend. It's his iconic friend, lover, partner, best friend, all the things.
All of the things.
I will read the back, and I'm so sorry if I ever pronounce anyone's name wrong or this lisp comes out strong. But the back says Achilles, the best of all Greeks, son of the cruel sea goddess, Tethys, Tedious, Tititas. And the legend King Peleus is a strong, swift, and beautiful, irresistible to all who meet him. Petroleus, once again, I am so sorry, is an awkward young prince, exiled from his homeland after an act of shocking violence. Brought together by chance, they forge an inseparable bond despite risking the gods' wrath. They are trained by their centaur Chiron. Oh my God. Percy Jackson, in the art of war and medicine. But when the world comes that Helen of Sparta has been kidnapped, all the heroes of Greece are called upon to lay siege to Troy in her name. Seduced by the promise of glorious destiny, Achilles joins this cause, and torn between love and fear for his friend, Patroclus follows. Little do they know that the cruel fates will test them both as they never before and demand a terrible sacrifice. Ooh, listen. When I growing up, I only knew Achilles from statues in the museum and from that one film where it has, oh my gosh, who's that? Brad Pitt, where Brad Pitt played him in a film. And it wasn't until I got older that I learned more about that from like Percy Jackson and like from history and such. This sounds so good. And elephant in the room is that we do know because of legend, Achilles does pass away. And I know that his friend also passes away, and they want like their ashes to be mixed together. I do know that going in, like that's an element of the story. But I want to like know how we get there and if the love is mutual or if it's just friendship. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't want to be queer baited where it's like they were roommates. They were just roommates. You know what I mean? Like I want to know like,
I
and
cannot
also sexuality is fluid. So if it's more complex than that, that 100% makes sense. This book sounds so
say
good.
I really, when I tell you, really want you to go into this blind.
As blind as I can be, as
Ella.
blind as SZA expressed, blind. I want to be as blind as possible with my glass. I'll take my glasses off. I can't see. Like I wanna be like that. That's how I'm trying to be. I wanna. What do you
Absolutely.
mean red flags? So red is my favorite color. It's not. But in this book, I would like it to be. So what made you love that book so much, Song of Achilles? Like why all the hype? Like why all the love?
All of the love for the Song of Achilles is just how beautiful the story is told. And I thoroughly enjoyed how it wasn't told in Achilles' perspective.
Mm,
We got a lot of background behind Achilles, but we didn't get a lot of his own thought process. Chloris is just, uh, oh my gosh. He is
scared.
one of the most authentic characters I've ever read.
Mm.
And to truly get his side of the story and to see the evolution of him going from a boy to a child to a man and
Mm.
just navigating the nose into his evolution of like, I don't care. Absolutely.
Okay. You're saying what you need to say. And now I'm like begin to slowly in my mind, I'm like raising it up the TBR. Like maybe I shouldn't wait till 2025. Maybe I should just take the plunge and read it in December and like make it happen. I have 20 books I need to read by the end of this month to get to my reading goal, and I'm not gonna let anything stop me. Even the tears, even the trauma. Okay. I'm not gonna read A Little Life. That's another book that I know that made everyone cry. I'm not reading that.
That's a bit girly.
I have my own reasons I'm not reading that, but I will read A Song of Achilles, and I'm praying that it shows characters as much love and respect as possible. Because I am not here for trauma's sake. I want there to be a reason. I want there to be a story. I want the character to have a full spectrum of emotions, not just
Yeah.
I feel constant like endless pain, So I'm super excited to read that. So yes, okay, so one we have your book Brooklyn, we have the Natasha Bishop book. What is another book that you recently got that you're like, all right, very excited to read and talk about?
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Oh, I have no idea. And
Really?
the reason why is because I'm just discovering like Kindle Unlimited,
I
and
love Kindle Unlimited too.
I've been reading every and anything that's on there. So I've been reading a lot
Okay.
of novellas that are on there, and they
Ooh.
are catching my attention.
Okay. Are there any novellas that you'd like to share? You feel like you need a little bit more love that not many people may be talking about? Because we love, for folks who may not know, Kindle Unlimited, you pay a monthly fee and I think you're able to get what, like 13 books through the app. And you can read it on your phone and you can read it physically on your Kindle. I was looking for my Kindle because it's nearby. It's usually next to my bed, but like whatever. So with Kindle Unlimited, you get those 13 or so books. I think it may be more. And then after you read it, you return it to the app, or you can buy it if you like. And then you can get another book from the app. And a lot of independent authors may go through Kindle Unlimited. A lot of the Instagram ones, when it says KU, that is Kindle Unlimited. I love Kindle Unlimited for all the indie spicy books, for the sci-fi, for the poetry you find on there. And I know they also have graphic novels on Kindle Unlimited as well. So that's fun. And for folks who maybe aren't able to buy a $20 hardcover book, Kindle Unlimited is great because I think you only pay a certain amount during the month. It's under 20 bucks and you can get so many books and you can really explore. Yeah. And you can if you sync your Kindle to the Goodreads app or whatever, it'll upload automatically when you finish a book. So you don't have to change your Goodreads for it. I think similarly, I wonder if Storygraph does that as well, or like Fable. Those are two other apps I love for like keeping up with your books and getting recommendations.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are some of those books on Kindle Unlimited that you would like to share?
So this one's called Snatched by a Gangster Love.
Ooh.
Girl.
What's going on in this story? Tell me
Okay.
what's up with the plot, okay?
So the reason why I even got into this book is actually because the author reached out to me. She was just like, "Hey, my book is on Kindle Unlimited, and I would like for you to review it
Ooh.
and just tell me what you think." This book caught me by surprise. Caught me by surprise. It said surprise, surprise. And the way it left off in a cliffhanger, she said to be continued. I said, "Ma'am, I need
Oh,
it to
wow.
continue now. I need to
Snatched by a Gangster in Love? Is that what it's called?
snatched by a gangster lovin'."
Lovin'.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's an urban fiction. It is about a young lady named Cola. She goes by Cola. It's her nickname because she drinks
Cute.
like a Coca-Cola bottle. And been in love with this guy for a very long time. She's 17 at the start of the book. At the end of the book, she's 18. So she is of legal age. Because that was something that kind of like age gap. But the age gap
Okay.
was like scary. The male main character, he's 22.
Okay.
Like,
I could
okay,
understand.
you know, so Cola has been in love with this guy since she was about 14 or so. And she's like, "Oh, I'm going to get him to notice me." And it's just about them falling in love. And
Mhm.
oh, it's about them falling in love. And there was a revenge plot at the end. I said, "Oh,
Revenge.
revenge on at the end."
Hmm.
He was very serious about Cola. He said, "I'm dropping everybody for you, honey. Like you don't even have to worry
Whoa.
about me. Like
Whoa.
me and you, we locked in together."
Clearing the roster. He cleared the whole roster.
Cleared the roster for her.
Wow.
So it is
Okay.
a romance that also has a little bit of revenge in it.
Ooh.
Oh, it was good. It's good.
Okay.
Got a little spice
Snatched by
to
a
it.
Gangster Lovin'.
Yeah.
And who was that author? Because I'm gonna make a list in the show notes of all the books that are mentioned, and then folks can look them up as well. And also follow you on Instagram to see all these books. But yeah, who was that by? 'Cause I do want to include who it was by.
It's by Courtney Harvey.
Courtney Harvey. Okay. All right. That sounds really, really, really good. Okay, so we have Only for a Week, Brooklyn, Snatched by Gangster Lovin'. Are there any other books where you're like, I need to mention this, everyone needs to know? Even Guilty Pleasures that you're kind of like, it's not on my top 5 books of the year, but it was good. Like it gave what it needed to give.
So, Curvy Girl Summer by Danielle Allen. Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
she ate. She ate. She did not come to play. I love when we have plus size female main characters because we need the representation. Point blank, period. That's it.
Hmm.
She is all about love. She's trying to find love, and she put herself on a timetable. And when she
Okay.
realized, like, "Oh, I don't have to be on this timetable," it kind of opened up some more doors for her. But low key, she already found the love of her life. So it's kind of like a little bit of like a cat and mouse, just becoming friends. So we basically go from like friends to lovers.
That's so cute. I melt. I melt. For listeners out there who are listening or watching on YouTube or Spotify, you can see our faces and like as we're talking about these books, we both literally like melt because we're like the way these books sound, they sound so like lover girl, lover boy, lover person vibes. Like we love to see it. We love to see like someone who's been searching for love find it, or they were always there. Like they were the friend or they were the coworker or the roommate. Also, I am all here for taboo romances. I'm here for urban romances. I'm here for fantasy. I'm here for he was a dragon or he was a gangster, or he was the boss. There
Mhm.
is no trope I am not down for. As long as we are adults and we're consenting, I'm happy. And age gaps, yes, they are taboo, but it's fiction. It's a book. It's not real. And I am here for all of it. So if there are any books where you're like, I'm a little scared to mention this, don't be, because I love it all and my readers do too. And if you guys are not into it, there are other episodes to listen to. But yeah, this is for all the books. This is for all the spice. I do
Yeah.
see one book behind you. And the book is so gorgeous and it's literally staring at me. It is a girl and her face is like all glossy and it's like purpley blue. What is this book about? It is
So,
literally
the book,
staring at me.
the book you're talking about is called Rhythms Blues. And honey,
Rhythms
Kimberly, that is
Blues.
by Kimberly Brown.
Okay.
Let me double check. Yes, Rhythms Blues
What is
by
that
Kimberly
about?
Brown. It is less than 285
Oh,
pages.
she's short.
The short girly. And Rhythms Blues is about her moving out to California from her town in North Carolina to go
Oh.
with her boyfriend, who is a big rapper at this point. Um, so it talks about a little bit how they first met, and then it goes into like where they are currently in their stage of life. They're in their
Mm.
late 20s, and things are not going well.
Ooh.
Baby, they are not going well. So this is actually a dual POV.
Mm.
I love a good dual POV. I love multiple point of views in a book because
Me too.
they really tell the story. Like, mm-hmm.
How exciting.
So
Okay.
I don't want to give too much about that one away because it is short. So
Mm.
it's about rhythm, just finding everything out about like the guy that she's currently dating, and we get the point of view of this other guy named Channing. And he's one of my book boyfriends.
Tatum. The moment you said Channing, I was like, that is a very specific Magic Mike step up name.
Yeah.
Okay? That name carries a legacy. A
Yeah.
legacy. As Megan said, white boy wasted Channing Tatum.
Hello.
He don't want to be kept, don't keep him. Like I just immediately, you don't want to be here? You're free, little pigeon. Let the doves come in. Let the big ones come in. It's cold out here. We need a big boy. We need a big girl. We need a big person to come in and cuddle us up and warm us up. And if they come in the form of a book, so be it.
Oh,
So
good.
be it. If you want, someone will. If you want, someone will. Okay? This book
That-
sounds very good. So, Rhythm Blues by Kimberly Brown. I like that you're kind of leaving a little bit up to the imagination, if you will, because
Mhm.
shorter books, I feel, especially like anthologies as well, which there are a few that I will mention later. It's hard to describe books like that sometimes because you don't want to give too much away because it's a collection of shorter stories or the book is under 300 pages. And you're like, man, if I go too far, I'll spoil it.
Spoil the
But there
whole.
are some like well-known books that you may touch on. Please, you are more than welcome to spoil because sometimes it's the best part. That's
Yes.
the best part. It's like, will she find someone to love her? Spoiler alert, yes.
Yes.
That he was not the only person in the world. She was not the only person in the world. Like, there will be someone else.
Mhm.
Okay, so you have gone over a few of the books that you really wanted to mention. Let's dive into the big boys. The big boys. All right, what are your top 5 books of 2024?
Okay, my top five. Four of them are by Black authors.
Yes.
Now,
Okay.
okay, so we have our first one, Delicious Monsters by Leslie Sambury.
Loved it.
Yes.
Loved it.
Oh, if you are into paranormal, a little bit of like hauntingness,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. I gave this a 5 star. I absolutely love the fact that this was a dual POV between two young girls in two different times.
Mhm.
And oh my gosh, Daisy went through it, y'all. Daisy went through it so bad. And I was just like, oh, I just wanted her to be better. I just wanted everything to work out in her favor. And I don't want to spoil this one. Like, this one
Okay.
is something that I do believe you should walk into blind. So if you are into A psychological thriller with paranormal activities. This is your girl, Delicious Monsters.
Ooh, what a good pick. I love Delicious Monsters. This is a book we both shared that we both have read at different points.
Yes.
The audiobook is great. The
10 out of
audiobook, highly recommend.
very much.
Like a podcast. For me, if I had to describe that book, it felt a little bit like podcast-esque between the
Yeah.
two POVs and the two different timelines. Um, if that book could be compared to any movie or show, I'm gonna put my money on Haunting of Bly Manor. Very similar, where it's like very
Okay.
twisty. It's on Netflix. It's a retelling of a classic story, but Delicious Monsters definitely felt like for me, perfect for like Halloween.
Yes.
Perfect for like spooky season. Such a good book. All
Yes.
right, let's go to the next one. What is your next book in your top 5 books of the year?
So we're continuing on a paranormal theme.
Okay. We're on a certain genre.
Love
Ooh.
Song for Ricky Wilde.
Oh my
Ah, by Tia
gosh.
Williams. Also a 5-star review. This book I read in February, and obviously, like, it came out in February of this year, and
Ooh.
there is just something about a time gap in finding love. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna read the back of this one.
Please.
Okay. So this one says, one florist, one pianist, one love story, 100 years in the making. Ricky Wilde has many talents. Ricky Wilde has many talents, but being a Wilde isn't one of them. As impulsive, artistic daughter of a powerful Atlanta dynasty, she's the opposite of what her famous socialite sisters. From where they're long-termed stem roses, she's the dandelion, an adorable bloom that is actually a weed, born to float wherever the wind blows. In her bones, Ricky knows that somewhere in a different, more exciting time, a life awaits her. I'm gonna stop right there. There's just something
Ooh.
extremely magical that Tia Williams put into this book. And I thoroughly enjoyed the love that became of Ricky and Ezra. Miss Delia, shout out to you, honey. Shout out to you, honey.
This book sounds really good.
Oh my gosh, like Miss Delia is by far one of my favorite characters. Became one of Ricky's confidants when she moved to New York from Atlanta. Like she has supported Ricky through every
Mm.
move that she could possibly make, especially starting up her florist business. Like her family actually owns they own a funeral parlor. So they have legacies of places where, they go to bury their loved ones, and they thought that she would take over the family business alongside with her sisters. That is not what she wanted to do. Ricky's favorite part of doing funerals was actually the florals. So she decided to open her own floral shop in New York, and she said this is where I'm meant to be. She was actually out in a garden one night, and she heard this piano playing in the background. And
Wow.
this is where she actually meets Ezra. And this is where Ezra meets her for the very first time in the book. And unfortunately, it's 2024, and Ezra is in, I want to say, 1924.
It's giving Lake House. It's giving 7 Year Slip. It's giving a little bit of a slip in time. One of my favorite books, the first episode of the podcast, One Last Stop. We love a good like time travel, time warped, like a slip in time kind of situation. This book sounds really, really good. If I remember correctly, I think it was on Kindle Unlimited at one point. I don't know if it still is. Don't quote me on
Yeah.
that. But listen, put your money where your mouth is, all right? If it came out
Yes.
this year, maybe there are used versions of it out and about.
Yes.
But that sounds really good. So there's a little bit of time, a little bit of weird time situation.
I love a good time slip. I did read the 7 Year Slip as well, and
Me
it was
too.
just as beautiful. But there was just something about the writing and the amount of love that went into this story. Tia Williams
Mm.
did such a phenomenal job. And I did listen to this with the audiobook. 10 out of 10.
Okay,
Out of
we're
10.
at 3 books already. How's that even possible? What is your fourth book pick? Top five books 2024. What is the number four? You only have two options left. It's getting tight.
Oh, that was actually my number 2. Yes.
What?
Okay,
What?
so our queen of romance, she she has done it, and she came out with the republishing of it most recently,
Oh,
Real by Kennedy Ryan. Oh,
ooh.
this book has disability representation in it,
Okay.
and it is a Hollywood renaissance. Oh,
Okay.
there's singing involved, and I listened to this paired with the audiobook.
Real.
Oh, there's
Okay.
something about the love between Neva and Cannon actually became one of my very first book boyfriends.
Okay. Can you tell me a
Uh,
little bit about the blurb? What is it about? Kennedy Ryan's name pops up a lot, and once again, as listeners may know, hyped books, I'm always a little nervous just because there's such a big everyone. It's so great. It's so great. It's so great. The book it doesn't get a chance to speak for itself, and this is an author I really want to dive into. Would you recommend Real as a book to kind of start off with Kennedy Ryan? Because you're glowing when you talk about it, and I'm low key kind of sitting here like. I don't wanna miss out. So tell me what it's about.
I definitely would recommend this.
Okay.
So I'm going to read the blurb in back. It says Neva Saint is ready for the spotlight. After months as an understudy, this is her night to shine. She never imagined that he would be the one in the audience watching. Cannon Holt, famous film director, fascinating, talented, and fine.
Ooh.
Before she can catch her breath, everything is changing. Neva goes backstage to Broadway to center stage in Hollywood. From being unknown to having her name on everyone's lips when Cannon casts her in a star-studded Harlem Renaissance biopic. But a forbidden attraction, scandal, and circumstances beyond Neva's control soon puts her dream in jeopardy. Could this be her one shot, the role of a lifetime, love of a lifetime, cost her everything?
Ooh.
This was my second read by Kennedy Ryan. My first one was actually Before I Let Go, but this one has a very special place in my heart.
Why?
I just, from the disability that is mentioned in this book, it is handled with such great care. And to actually talk to other girls in our book community about the book and finding out that, some people have actually dealt with this personally and
Mhm.
hear the feedback of like, she truly did her research and this is exactly what it's like. Absolutely 100%. Kennedy Ryan is near and dear to the heart. Like
Mm.
this real by far, I have read like 4 of her books this year. Real by far is my number 1 by Kennedy Ryan.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Who would you cast as the main character? Because Hollywood movies, you do kind of have maybe a picture in your mind. Who
Yeah.
would you cast as the main character of Real if it became a movie or a show?
I actually do not know.
Mm.
And I think it would I'm not really good with celebrities, I will tell you that.
Okay. That's okay.
Um, I am not sure who I would cast to play Neva. Oh my gosh.
It's a big character.
That is a huge character.
Hmm.
It's a huge character because the the author that Neva actually plays is Desi Blue, and Desi Blue actually went through a lot. She grew up in the 1920s, like just having to go through everything that she went through to get to the point to become a huge singer, like to have that spotlight on her. And
Mhm.
her and Neva's, real life character in the book, they correlate so much. And
Whoa.
I thoroughly enjoy like the correlation that happens between these two characters.
Wow.
So I enjoy the fact that Neva did a lot of her own research to truly embody Desi Blue.
It sounds amazing. I am a big celebrity kind of visual person, so I'm always curious what people like imagine in your mind. If you see a movie in your head, or if you are playing the main character, like kind of what is going through people's minds. You
Yeah.
said singer. There's also film related. I couldn't help but think of this actress named Ryan Destiny. Um,
Oh,
you may know her from Star.
yes.
I imagined her because she's a beautiful voice, a great actress, and she has a face where like she could be from a different time. So
Yes.
that's someone who I kind of imagined when you were started talking. I'm like, okay, I can see it. And then I'm imagining a famous director, fine, and he also could be from a different time. Um, I don't know why, and I do cast him in my head whenever I have like a very like not not quirky, but like a good-looking person who's incredibly creative. I think it's John David Washington is
Okay.
Denzel Washington's son. He was in oh my gosh. He was in Black Clans. It was like it was a Spike Lee film. It was like I think it was
Oh, yes.
do you know what I'm talking about? Like, you know, like he's an amazing. He's also in a new film on Netflix right now. I imagine him when I think of like old Hollywood, but like fine as hell in the shadows in his tux, like he was right there.
Yes.
Was the vibe. That's why as you're like describing the story in my head, I'm casting it like a trailer. And I'm
Yes.
like, oh, I could totally see it. Okay, so we have Delicious Monsters, giving a little bit of paranormal, a love song for Ricky Wilde, which is giving a little bit of a time slip and a romance, maybe a little bit of doom, a little bit, how are we gonna make this work? Real by Kennedy Ryan. So we've got Hollywood, film, the past mirroring the present.
Hmm.
What is next? I feel like the bar is getting higher and higher.
Okay. So Abby Jimenez just came out this year for her last book in the trilogy, um, just for the summer. But it's actually not just for the summer. It is yours truly.
Yours truly. Okay, what is this about?
So the blurb in the back says Dr. Brianna Ortiz, life is seriously flatlining. Her divorce is about to get finalized. Her brother is running out of time to find a kidney donor. And that promotion is what she wants. Oh, that's probably going to be a new doctor, a man doctor, who's already registering 80 freaking 7 on Brianna's pain in my ass scale. Just when all the systems are set to hate, Jacob Maddox is completely flips the game by sending her a letter. And it's a really good letter. Like the kind that proves that Jacob actually isn't Satan. Worse, he might actually be this fantastically funny and subversive, likable guy who is terrible at first impressions. Because suddenly he and Bree are exchanging letters, sharing lunch dates in her sob closet, discussing the merits of freakishly tiny horses. But when Jacob decides to give the best gift imaginable, a kidney for her brother, she wonders how she can resist this quietly sexy new doctor, especially when he called him a favor she cannot refuse.
Oh my gosh, he gave his kidney? Whoa. I love
Jake,
letters. We love letters in a book.
ah, Jacob, next level book boyfriend.
Wow. Giving a kidney
A kidney to a man you don't even know.
for the woman you love.
Ah, there's
That's
nothing
so
like it. This was
beautiful.
also a 5-star read. Like I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that um Brianna in the book, she actually talks to Jacob very well about his anxiety levels, just his mental health. And unfortunately, there's a third act breakup in this book and unexpected pregnancy. And I was just like, yo, hold on. Whoa.
Double homicide. Double homicide.
There was
You're getting
so
it from the
much.
front and from the back. Oh.
There was so much happening in this book. And
Whoa.
that was a little bit of a spoiler too.
It's okay. It's
Like,
okay. There are certain tropes I feel like people should know about
yes.
because a lot of listeners have shared in an episode called it's pretty much unpopular opinions.
Mhm.
It is and I think you also I mean people take part. Some people took part. where it is an anonymous confession about things in books people either love or are not huge fans of, or maybe you're in the middle. And a lot of people have shared they do want to know the tropes of books in advance in case there's a trope in there that makes them uncomfortable or is triggering or is not their cup of tea. And a lot of people are split 50-50 between surprise pregnancy. Some people do love it. Some people feel like it's a little too realistic and they came to a book for an escape.
Yes.
Personally, for me, Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young has shown me I'm okay with surprise pregnancy. I'm okay with it in books because
Yes.
it does happen and it
Does
can bring people together.
happen.
But sometimes if it's not done well, it can be an ick. So this book sounds a little bit though like there's a
Like a
lot going on emotionally. So
yeah,
it maybe that kind of fits in with the story.
it does. Like yours truly talks like the tropes I personally feel like really go very well are mental health. We
Mm,
there's topic of mental health. There's medical issues, um the third act breakup, the unexpected pregnancy. Like yours truly, I felt like hit all of the points, and the way that it's done beautifully. And
oh,
there was a for Bree, I felt like her character was so real, and it's hard to put these characters and have them in a realistic light and it being done beautifully. Bree was
mhm.
one of those characters that was done absolutely beautifully.
Wow.
So,
I'm so grateful for every book you're sharing. And honestly, I'm so nervous to hear what your top book of the year is because every single one of these books sounds amazing. So the number one book must have been a little bit of a harder choice to make. Am I
oh,
wrong? Like it must be
this
hard.
this one actually came from a series.
Oh, okay, okay.
This was the only one that came from like a series that was interconnected and like
Mm,
truly all the way through. And I had a hard time choosing between the two. So the
okay.
series is actually the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and it was between the Obelisk and Stone Sky, and I chose the Stone Sky. Oh
What is this
my god!
about? What is it
So
about?
the Broken Earth trilogy is it's honestly about it's true. The underlying layers of this book is actually about racism,
Okay.
and the way that it's done in the form of science meets racism and classism. There we go. It
Okay.
it I cannot describe just this one book without going through the other two, because this was actually the end of the series. And The Stone Sky really resonated with me because it delved more into the relationship of Eson and Nesson, mother and daughter.
That's emotional.
Oh, and I promise you, if you ever decide to go into fantasy sci-fi, I highly recommend, because the way that the first book was done, I actually started it in 2023 and I had to put it down. I was just not prepared for it. I said, okay. But towards the
That
top of
happens.
this year, I don't know, the book was just calling my name. So I was just like, okay, let me go back and read it. I started reading the fifth season again, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this had a plot twist of a plot twist that I was not expecting. And when I got into the obelisk gate, I said, okay, Eslon, I need to know more on like why you are the way that you are and why we need to figure out like what's happening next. The story follows Eson and her evolution into how she became a six ringer. So her evolution is all in the first book. The second book talks more about her becoming her aftermath as to what happened when they opened the gate. And this was something very serious. It talks about her relationship between her daughter, the guy that she was married to, how the trauma of what happened between like the mother, the daughter, the father, and unfortunately her son who was killed. So she goes through the obelisk gate, just trying to figure out like, why do I need to open this gate? What is the purpose of me opening this gate? Going through um basically like dunes, trying to figure out why the earth is ending the way that it is. The stone sky talks more about what happens when she finally found the obelisk gate and she's in this dune and it's underground and they are just trying to figure out how to survive this next season and if they can even survive it, because when they go through the seasons actually go for tens of thousands of years. So they're like, we have to get ready for the next generation, if there will even be a next generation. Yeah.
So sorry. Did you see the seasons last for thousands of years?
Yep, it could last between 5 to 25,000.
Oh no. As a Florida girly, I can barely handle a swift wind. And I have traveled to different places. And even though I am a curvier woman, a girly pop likes to stay warm. Okay, midnight and I, my cat and I, we must stay warm. All right. My partner runs cold. We have, what is it? Anemia? Listen, so I'm not trying to mess with you and you're not trying to mess with me. So if you're telling me that we are in an alternate universe where winter can last thousands of years.
Yep,
Not the global warming. Oh, not
yep.
the global warming. Oh,
Way the way
no.
that the way that these seasons work is actually like as if the earth was truly going through global warming. Acid rain,
Whoa.
like rocks coming down, like the earth is truly breaking. And at the core of the earth, there's actually another being of life. And those are called stone eaters.
Whoa. This series sounds very layered, almost like Rings of Time. If you've seen that on Amazon Prime as well, and I know that that's also a book series, this series sounds incredibly impactful. And I do have to ask, without going into spoilers if you're not comfortable, what about this book made it number one for you? What about that mother-daughter relationship? Why is this like such an important book for you?
So I felt like The Stone Sky really answered a lot of questions between the mother and daughter relationship. And it actually gave us her daughter's point of view.
Mm.
And I have been, when I tell you, since book midway through book two, I have been wanting to know what was going on with the daughter, because you do get the daughter's POV as well, but their lives actually intermingle in more ways than one. And it's because of the abuse that Eson went through as a child at the
Mm.
hands of somebody that her daughter actually encounters as well in the book. But the way that this one person shaped both of their lives, opposite ends of the spectrum. And
Wow.
I felt like because of this one individual and the way that he experienced, he did what he needed to do with Eson. And then he learned from those lessons with Eson through her daughter. And because the daughter's like 13 at the time, 11, 13, when he like discovers who she is, it's just like, I have to do the right thing.
Mm.
I have to do the right thing, or else she's going to essentially be the same way as her mother.
Oh,
But the daughter is a lot stronger than her mom because of the
whoa.
abilities that they both have.
Whoa. And there's magic and there is power. This
Yeah.
sounds so good. Like the metaphors, even though I have not read it yet, are giving. Like the generational, like because I went through this, I will make sure you don't have to. Or if you do, you'll be ready and you'll be strong and you'll be prepared to face it and overcome it. Oh, this book sounds so good. Okay, once again, I'm adding all these books to a list so you can find them in the show notes. And I will also make sure that they are listed in Instagram on a post about this episode. So we have covered your top 5 books of 2024. We have covered a few books that you've recently gotten that you are obsessed with. So a win is a win. I feel like we've covered so much. You've also mentioned that you have family in Miami. I am in the Miami area. Um, and you mentioned a bookshop that I recently went to for my birthday called See Me Lit. Um,
Yes.
you were discussing like some books that you've recently gotten that you've really loved. I do want to share some books that I think either you have already read or I want to share some books that maybe you haven't heard of yet.
Okay.
That look super, super good. So these are some books that I recently got. You've been sharing so much. I'm sitting here like, you know what? Let me share some ones with you as well. Let me share some ones with you as well. So we have a Friends to Lovers called A Little Kissing Between Friends. Super cute, right?
Gorgeous.
Isn't it cute? And if like what's it? People say like, "Oh, I'm not judging a book by its cover." You're a liar. A lot of people actually do judge books by their cover. So this book is by Shanika Higgins. So cute. Um, and it is about a music producer on the rise. Sin the star knows what she likes. The vibe is giving like the internet. Sid the star um knows what she likes. From sickening beats in the studio to flirty femmes she fools around with, her ever rotating roster has never been a problem until her latest fling clashes with Juicy, her best friend and the most popular dancer at the strip club Sanity. It makes Sin see Juicy in a different light, one with far fewer boundaries and a lot more kissing. Jalissa Jones makes great money dancing the early shift and spends most evenings with her son, her Sanity family, or at Sin's house. Relationships are not high on the priority list until she's forced to admit that maybe the friendship isn't the only thing she wants from her bestie. From By hooking up with your ride or die is risky, Juicy isn't just Sin's best friend. Juicy is her muse. When Sin lays down her tracks, it's Juicy who she imagines in the club, throwing it back to every note. If they aren't careful, they could crash and burn. But isn't real love worth it? A little kissing between friends.
Oh my, that sounds so
Listen,
good.
listen, as a Black lesbian, I do adore sapphic romances. Yes, I do. But I also love straight romances. I love male-male romances. I love poly relationships. I love it all. I love all of it. And reading this, I cannot wait. My partner also saw this book while we were at CB Lit, and we really were like, we might just share this book and talk about it because it looks so good. But I had to share because, like, friends to lovers. I love friends to lovers. Do you? Is that your cup of tea as well?
Yes, friends to lovers, enemies to lovers.
We love enemies to lovers. Speaking of, since we were on the friends to lovers train, another book I actually got at Barnes& Noble while I was there is Don't Let the Forest In. This is another book I recently got. Cover is insane, gorgeous. It's like a garden overcoming this young man's face. It's giving like Portrait of Dorian Gray a little bit. So I won't go into the blurb because I don't want to go too deep. But this book, from my understanding, and it has sprayed edges, it's like dark, beautiful green.
I love
So
a good
gorgeous.
I love a good
This book is about a young man who is going to an academy and his best friend goes there too. He comes back to the academy and there's blood on his clothes. He was on his way there with his parents. His parents are now deceased, expired, gone, Harry Potter style, gone. And I said it. Oh, I said it. Anyway, so his parents are gone and everyone's wondering like, "Oh my God, did he do it? Like this is so scary." I'm imagining like Troye Sivan, like Timothy Chalamet. He has to be beautiful but also like sickly looking, but still
Oh,
beautiful. You know what I mean? So he shows up there and every night he has to battle monsters. He is an artist, and all the monsters he's been sketching after this really traumatic experience come to life and try to kill anyone he loves. And his best friend, who he loves and cares about very much, maybe even too much, he's trying to kill the monsters so they don't kill his best friend and anyone else he cares about. And the main character, the best friend, is beginning to realize that maybe the only way to kill the monsters is to kill the creator. But he cares about him very much. And the back of the book, it says Thomas had no idea that Andrew would do anything for him, protect him, lie for him, kill for him.
the drama.
The drama. I love dark romances. I love dark academia. I want to feel like I'm on like a dark campus like Cambridge during autumn, and there's candles and there's really good coffee, and we're in like cute brown outfits. And then all of a sudden you fall in love with a vampire who's super good looking and very sweet. And turns out they've been alive for like 300 years and they're super possessive, but they also have a super sweet soft side just for you. And that is the vibe I'm always going for. So when I find books that have dark romance elements and then it's like a gothic or like a paranormal element, I'm all in. And if it's gay, I'm even more in. So this one, Don't Let the Forest In, I can't wait to read. I had to share with you because I heard that for folks who love delicious monsters, this is like a darker, spooky version. It's a little bit with the paranormal. And if you like that, maybe you'll like this one as well. So I cannot wait to read this. I got this on sale at Barnes& and Noble. I think it was like 20% off at the time. So I was like, "Oh, sprayed edges, hardcover. Say less. Say less." If we're hopping into something a little bit lighter, I say light very loosely. If you like magic and you like black female main characters and you like you must choose between your family and who you love. I recently got this as a gift from a good friend of mine on Instagram. Alex, Bibliophile. She gave this to me for my birthday, and it's Blood Like Magic from my wish
Hello.
list. Say la. I cannot wait to read this book. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful black woman surrounded by a lavender-like smoke. I cannot wait to read this. I wish I saw more people posting about this. I see you searching your bookshelf. If you have this book as well, you have this book as well.
I have
We
it.
both have this book.
And I have her sister.
I cannot wait. A Blood Like Fate book two. Okay,
Oh,
okay. Another beautiful black woman in what looks like a wedding dress with red smoke.
same girl.
Oh my
Same
gosh.
girl. So this is Voya, and this is Voya after.
Whoa.
Mm.
Yes. So this story, I will read the blurb because it really drew me in, and it was on my wish list forever. Thank you so much, Alex, for this book. Another amazing book blogger on Instagram. I highly recommend you check her out. This book is about after 5 years of waiting for her calling, a trial every witch must pass in order to come into their powers. The one thing Voya Thomas doesn't expect was to fail. When Voya's ancestors give her an unexpected second chance to complete her calling, she agrees, and then is horrified when her task is to kill her first love. And this time, failure means every Thomas witch will be stripped of their magic. Voya is determined to save her family's magic no matter what the cost. The problem is, Voya has never been in love. So far, so for her to succeed, she'll have to find the perfect guy fast. Unfortunately, a genetic matchmaking program has just hit the market. Her plan is to join the program, fall in love, and complete her task before the deadline. What she doesn't count on is being paired with an infuriating Luke. How can she fall in love with a guy who seemingly wants nothing to do with her? With morning pressure from her family, Voya is caught between her mortality and her duty to her bloodline. If she wants to save her heritage and Luke, she'll have to find something her ancestors want more than blood. And in witchcraft, blood is everything. This is Blood Like Magic by Leslie Sambury, which, if I understand correctly, is the same author as Delicious Monsters. What? Oh my gosh.
It was actually one of my first reads of the year.
What? This is, I'm
Yeah.
hoping to be one of my last reads of the year.
This
Full
was
circle.
good. This was so good. And I honestly, I love the second one more than I like the first one.
Really?
I really enjoyed the first one. There is a lot of ancestral trauma in the
Mm.
first one. So there's my trigger warning for that one. And it is graphic. It does go into detail about it. Especially
Whoa.
for a YA book. I was just like, whoa.
Okay.
Was not expecting that. And her sister here, just know that there are characters that I hate.
Ooh,
I
hate is a strong word, Lauren. Hate is a strong word,
I don't use it. I
but
don't use
maybe
it
it's
at all.
warranted.
It's
But
warranted.
maybe it's warranted.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Me, hate's a strong word, but also sometimes hate is the perfect word. This sounds absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that you've read it because these two books look gorgeous together. The story sounds amazing, and I'm grateful for the trigger warning. Honestly, for me, the only trigger warning that's really hard for me is things related to SA, and especially when it's related to like children or to just individuals who don't get their vengeance. I want them to get their vengeance. So for me, if that is part of the book, I can do it. I just need to like pace myself. You know what I mean? Like a girl will pause. I will pause. I will read something light and then I will come back because sometimes you just got to do it.
yeah.
Sometimes you just got to do it. You know what I mean? Even if a book is amazing, sometimes you do have to kind of like set stuff aside and be like, all right, we'll circle back when we're in a good mental space. And we will say that I will say that for every reader. If a book ever makes you feel like mental health wise, it's a lot going on and it's too much,
Hey, put it down.
take a break. Like, no one's gonna judge you for that. Take a break. So, Blood Like Magic is another book we seem to have shared. It's like a parallel between the two of us. Song of Achilles was another one. So, Small Worlds. Another book which is uh linked to Hollywood, directing Black individuals, and romance is When I Think of You, by Mia. Is it Mia? Myah Ariel? The
Myah Ariel.
cover is gorgeous. It's a couple, and the sunset is like going behind them, and they're like holding each other. Um, I will say this: I have not read this book yet. I really want to, but when I heard the description of the male love interest, I thought of Common, the actor Common, and the
Yes.
musician
Oh my,
Common.
yes. I was like, oh,
That's what I was. That's what I was giving. He's supposed to be very like low key, famous, handsome, humble, giving a little bit of goatee. You're describing Common. Like it's a very specific man. So this book, to my understanding, is a second chance romance. They
yeah.
broke up in the past, they meet up again. The female love interest, if I had to like bullet points at the top of my head, she is in the film industry, but it took her a while to get there. And her love interest is a big director. They meet up again. He's with someone, but there is still feelings there.
Very, very much still feelings there. I did read about a third of it, so but I did have to soft DNF it, but I will be picking it back up.
Let me know when you do. Maybe we could do a buddy read and talk about it because sometimes you fall in love with a book a second time round,
Yes.
and that happens. It
I
happens,
I am
you
hoping
know?
that is the case.
Fingers crossed.
Have you
Fingers
had that?
crossed.
Gorgeous. It's so
It
honestly,
is.
it's good.
I cannot wait to read this. And if the male love interest is common, and the female love interest has worked really, really hard to get to this point in her career, and she meets him again, and all the feelings come back. Do you know who I imagined? I imagined Gabrielle Union
I,
as his love interest
I can see that.
because she had to be incredibly beautiful, hardworking. She has a goal. She sees him again, and it's like everything stops. I either imagined Gabrielle Union or Tessa Thompson.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like she's
Yes.
driven, but there's a softness to her.
Yes.
Who do you when you think of like that girl? You know what I mean? And you're reading a book and you're like, oh, if this was a movie, I could totally see her doing it. And I know like casting in your mind can be a little difficult, but I'm always so curious to see like if this was a movie, who would you cast? Like who is your go-to actress when you're reading a book and you're like, give her the role?
I think for this one, hmm, who would I who could I do for this one? Oh my gosh. Because when you described Common, I was instantly
Hmm.
thinking of the movie that he had with Queen Latifah.
Just right. One of my favorite movies. That is a comfort movie. I hear you. I
And I
hear,
was like, yeah. But
but
like
yeah, I can see
she
that.
so in the book, she actually kind of like, the way that they the way
Meet
that
again.
they way that they meet again is like she was just like, wow, this is embarrassing.
Ooh,
And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, honey. But this is real.
embarrassing books where you cringe for the main character as well. Sometimes I literally have to put the book to the side and be like, it's
I'm
not me. But sometimes I read scenes in books and I'm like, oh,
this is
oh.
this feels personal.
I cringe for you because I everyone has awkward moments. And I look back sometimes and I'm like, I said what? I did what? I'm like, oh, oh, what was I thinking? Um, but yeah, so the actress in Just Right who played his in that film, Common is a basketball player. He gets incredibly hurt, and the love interest that he's with at the time he's engaged, the woman he's engaged to ends up leaving him, and her sister takes care of him because she's a physical therapist, and they end up falling in love, and that woman is Queen Latifah. And she's always labeled as like the best friend. She was never the love interest. And I really related to her in that film for that. Because if
Yeah.
you're the sweet one, you're cute, maybe you're not to the beauty standard of what some people would think, you get
Mhm.
friend zoned. And in that movie, Queen Latifah gets friend zoned a lot. But she was always
Or-
that girl. She was
Yeah.
always the one. And they break up because she feels like she's the second choice. Spoiler alert, but she feels like she's the second choice, you
Mhm.
know? So Common being all common and beautiful and emotional and in touch with his feelings. No, you're not, you're never the second choice, girl. And she's like, I literally am. Like if your ex came back, I feel like you would fold.
You would fold.
You have to see the movie to find out what happens next. But when I think of you, I cannot wait to read this with you if we do a buddy read because I'm curious to see who we would cast as the main characters. If Common is still the main character, he probably is. And then I want to know if they do end up getting back together in the end. That's the only thing with second chance romances. Sometimes it makes sense that they get back together. And
Yeah.
sometimes I look back and I'm like, the
Why?
reason they broke up was pretty bad. Like maybe they should not have.
Yeah.
But ooh, I love a good second chance romance. My real life is second chance romance. And I love when like they circle back and it's like, I've always been in love with you. Like we can heal through. I love it. Maybe because it happened to me, but I also love it in like a book. If it's done well, we love to see it. You know, or a marriage in trouble or a relationship in trouble, and they're able to heal through it and like work through it in a good way.
Yes.
Girlies who get it, they get it. But those were a few books I really wanted to share with you. There is two more and they fall into the horror category. And they're two books one of them I haven't read, one of them I have. The first one is The Black Girl Survives in this one, which is a horror anthology. It has stories from Erin E. Adams, one of my favorite horror authors. She wrote Jackal. That was my favorite book of 2023. I love this book. I annotated it to the sun and the moon. Every horror story in this book, for me, I can either recall off the top of my head or it hit really, really hard. You get sci-fi horror, you get there's a story that's related to a party in a cemetery.
Oh,
And someone in the chapter does reference, like, this is really creepy, we should not be here. And they're like, well, they're not gonna tell us. Ooh, oh no. Maybe her computer died. I'm sorry, guys, but Lauren's camera went out really quick. Maybe we'll do a part two of this episode, but I'm thankful for everyone who listened. I'm so sorry it cut out. Maybe something happened technology wise, but I'm happy for everyone who listened. Lauren, when you do hear this later, I hope that you circle back and we do a part two. But I will link all the books that Lauren has mentioned below in the show notes, and I will absolutely recommend for her to come back and ask if she's available. And thank you for everyone who listened and have a wonderful day.